So being outside in the sun, cleaning up some of my garden tools, getting the rust off them, that's put me in a good mood. And because I'm capable of metacognition, I have to be aware of the fact that I'm in a good mood because I'm out in the sun, enjoying the heat, not being cold, getting fresh air. And all my problems are still there. I had the same problems I had before. Right, my financial problems, my employment problems, they're still there. And so this is just a temporary distraction. And some say you really can't think like that. But I can, in fact, think like that because it's true. And I was inclined to make like a more upbeat video, a more hopeful video. Maybe I'll do better this year. If I can't get a job as a janitor or some other part-time work, maybe the gig thing will work better this year. Probably won't. The gig's probably going to be a flop. I wasn't about to spew a bunch of biased stuff that's just inspired by me being out in the sun and not being cold. And, I do like spring, and spring puts me in a good mood, but good moods should not turn into delusions of grandeur. And a good mood is just that, a good mood. I got a little exercise outside. I just, split some firewood and I, sand some garden tools, get the rust off them. And I know I already said that. I'm going to repeat myself now and then. Deal with it, you neurotypical. Deal with the fact that sometimes someone's going to state something more than once in a conversation. And it's not a sign of weakness, and it's not a sign of inferiority. It just is. Deal with it. So, I was able to get my first quote on a spring cleanup. I don't know if I'm going to get the job, but I hope I get the job, because I could use the money. My cat needs food appropriate for cats with kidney disease. Trying to give her a soft landing. I'm sure she doesn't have much more than a few months, tops. But right now her quality of life's okay. She still gets around. She's still quite spry and jumps and plays and, but I'm noticing that she gets cold easily, just like my other cat who died last year got cold easily. So, she's getting close. And it's going to be really hard to let her go. She'd be the last cat of the four cats that I love. The four cats I adopted when I was married. So, in a blink of an eye, their whole lives went by. I mean, here I am. I'm 46 years old. Holy crap. I've been out of high school for coming up on 28 years. Feels like yesterday. Life goes by so fast. The days seem long, the moments seem long. Like if I have to scoop cat litter, it just seems like it takes forever, even though it doesn't. The litter boxes at home, a couple minutes to get it done. But it feels like it takes forever, right? But, on the rare occasion I get doing something I enjoy, I get immersed in a video game or something. On the occasion I can actually enjoy it. 2 hours just blinks. It goes by. Bam, where'd it go? Where the hell did it go? What'd I get accomplished, I recently watched a YouTube video by a guy who talked about, he thought that we weren't born to work and we're born to play. And life the need to be productive pushes out the desire to play. And at a certain age, you get to the point where if you do something that is not productive, that doesn't generate an income, it doesn't generate additional wealth, it doesn't create additional efficiencies or otherwise improve the productivity of your life or your household, then it feels like a waste of time. Even rest feels like waste. If let's say that, you spend an hour one night playing cards with your family or something, and you realize, I could have spent that hour, fixing the bicycle. I need the bicycle. What am I doing playing cards with my family? Or whatever. When you're a kid, though, what you want to do is play. I remember being a kid, waking up Saturday morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4:30. I don't think my parents let me get up before 4, but sometimes I wanted to. And I'd be excited. I wake up excited. Look at all the things I could do today, especially Saturday morning. I got Saturday morning cartoons. I could have cereal. The day is just going to be so much fun, so much to look forward to. There's all this playtime, right? And Saturday's just packed with playtime. You watch cartoons in the morning, and then, I don't know, around 11 o'clock in the morning, I used to watch Looney Tunes or the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. And that's what I'd make lunch. I'd have lunch at 11 o'clock in the morning, and depending on what we had available, I'd make like peanut butter and fluff, or bologna sandwich or something. I loved having peanut butter and fluff with Ruffles potato chips while watching Looney Tunes. Like there was like a synergy. There was like a dopamine synergy there. And that's my first introduction to like mixing my drugs, so to speak. Not literally drugs, but mixing the different pleasures of life to have an even greater pleasure than the two. And so I became someone who like, hey, I want to have pizza when I do this, or I want to have Chinese food when I do that, or whatever, I used to love to have a cigarette while I was eating spaghetti and meatballs. It's just complimentary pleasures, Yeah, nice cold lager beer and spaghetti and like a spicy kind of spaghetti. Well, that's like the little red hot flakes put in it, and then a cigarette. Oh, lots of cheese. I know it's a digression. When I was young, I'm gonna go back to it. Just love playing, right? You get off school, especially early elementary school. School's over, you can go play. I didn't have any homework until, I don't know, aside from my spelling words or something, learning the spelling words, it was almost nothing until like 4th or 5th grade. Get home and go play. Get off the bus at, 3:15, and you only had an hour and a half or 2 hours before dinner. It felt like such an opportunity, right? It's so exciting. Now when I look at 2 hours, at least barely enough time to do anything. And if I have 2 hours at the end of my day, it feels like I should be doing something else. Something else needs to get done, Heck, even if I do something productive, it cuts into my other productive stuff. Like, if I have a lawn to mow, I remember I found this out last summer. If I have a lawn to mow, then it'd put off cleaning the litter boxes and changing the waters for the animals and taking care of the birds, and I'd get upset because one productivity got in the way of another productivity, and then I lost free time. But if I actually engaged in the free time, I'd feel bad about not being productive. And the gentleman who gave this presentation on YouTube, if I can find it in my history, I'll post a link to it in the description, but he said he developed an aphantasia. He thinks it's because he adapted to the world of work and productivity, and he lost his imagination from it. Now, if you're not familiar with aphantasia is where you can't imagine an image of something. So let's say you imagine an apple, then like some people can see an apple in their mind's eye, and the people who have the best imaginations can actually manifest an image in their own real line of sight, but I can't do that. I can just imagine it though. And he can't do that. I meant to ask him if he actually has dreams that he can see things in his dreams, or if it's just sensations or what, because I was wondering if that extends to his dream life too. And he had it when he was young, and then he lost his ability to imagine. And that's really sad. I had such a vivid imagination when I was young. I remember being like a second, third grade, and I'd have imaginary adventures with Link from The Legend of Zelda, and whatever, running around my basement in the house, but like we were actually in the wilderness of Hyrule, fighting monsters and stuff. I thought when I was young, a little kid, I could make my tree fort fly. My dad made this simple little tree fort, and after watching Explorers, that movie about some kids that get a bunch of junk together, they take a tilt-a-whirl thing and make it fly. And I thought that I could make this thing fly. Just my imagination was a lot stronger than my appreciation of the limits of reality. The sky was the limit. I'm lucky I didn't get into my head that I could just strap a couple boards to my arms and fly with them, right? Because then I would have jumped off the roof of the house and died. So I'm glad I didn't think of that. But I still have an amazing imagination, and I like to play too. But I am impressed with the need for productivity. There's not enough time in the day. Some say, well, you just need to prioritize and become so efficient at what you do that you can make time to play. And what doesn't get done, doesn't get done. But there's always so much to do. And, of course, but it's true, though, about money. The more money you have, the more flexibility you have. Right? You can, if I played my cards right, which I didn't, if I played my cards right, I could have retired at age 40, right? I could have retired into poverty, but still be retirement, right? I could have, manage these so-called investments, which aren't investments, just had the right stocks and whatever, speculating in gold and whatnot, and to generate annuities that would pay me, a poverty wage, $800 a month, whatever, right? And if I were living in a renovated school bus or something, I would have been fine collecting $800 a month and not working. But here I am, working and having no money and having no other income but my W-2 job. So some say, yeah, you're supposed to retire early so you can get your playtime back. But I don't. There's a hawk up there. I can't tell what kind of bird that is. I don't know if you'd get your playtime back. Some people like to play golf or whatnot, right? They retire and they go do golf or whatever. But like my imaginative playtime, I love playing Dungeons and Dragons. But I also realize, if I spend time doing that, playing, that's 3 hours a week that I could be productive, plus the travel time there and back. If I'm running the game, it's 3 hours plus the prep time, however long it takes. I know there's ways to be a lazy DM and do some really quick prep, but my point is, I do think about things I should be doing. As much as I've been frustrated with StarCraft, and I want to relate to this guy. This guy, you said when he was young, he played video games, not so much because of the game, but because it allowed him to play in another universe, so to speak, right? And that's one of the reasons why I played games too. I could suspend disbelief and be in the universe, so to speak, of the game. I mean, I know it was a game, but actually just to let my mind run within the fiction of the game. The same thing for reading books, right? You read fantasy novels or science fiction novels or whatever, or mystery novels. You could not be you. I mean, you're you, but you actually put your mind in the world of the story instead of your own and just enjoy it. And I think there's value in itself in doing that, but it does cut into productive time. There's always something else you could be doing. And you think, if our society, collectively speaking, not individually, is so wealthy, you think we appreciate that time more. I can get, if you're living hand to mouth, barely surviving, then every time you sit down for 15 minutes or 20 minutes to rest, that's work not done. That's firewood that's not split. That's ears of corn that aren't shucked or whatever, right? If you're going to sit down, at least shuck these ears of corn while you're sitting there. Find some repetitive, low brain power task and do that while you're sitting and thinking or whatever. Idleness means starvation for some people. I can understand that type of people will prioritize productivity if they're about to die. If they're not, but like if you're not just about to die, then why do we need to be productive so much? Look at it. We talk about like, hey, have you monetized your hobbies yet? If not, you're missing out. It's a chance to generate revenue. I realize that monetizing my hobbies, I think, would make my hobby not fun. I know some people do like channels where they paint their miniatures for their Dungeons and Dragons games or for their Warhammer or whatever other like games they like to play, right? Or people who play games as groups and record it and put it on the internet, which is fine because it gets to demonstrate the game for people who like to play it. But like, it would feel like work. Because as soon as you have a camera on you, even if you're trying to be sincere, you're choosing to be sincere, which means you're not sincere. Even me talking here, from me to you, there's a degree of performance to it. Because I know I'm being watched. I have to pick my words. I try not to cuss more than I have to. I really... You know, there's certain terms or phrases I might not use because I'm being filmed. And so I become phony by recording it. Even if I want to be sincere. And that would, to me, I think, make the hobby not fun. Not to mention the pressure to be perfect in the hobby, right? If I did a hobby channel where I talked about how I create dungeons for D&D, I'd be worried that what I had to offer wasn't very good. Where if it's not on TV, then it doesn't have to be good. It can just be what works for me. And some say that's all you got to do, but not really, right? Think about Raymond Thoughts and Mind, his channel. Right, he's a guy who can't get laid. So he did a whole channel about. I mean, he talks about other things, but like big part is that he can't find a partner. All right, and I can't get laid, and so like I tried to do the same thing he did, but the quality of what I do is shit, and that's evidenced by the fact I don't have an audience. Every time I publish a video, I get, a handful of views. And he somehow managed to build himself up. And I'm not complaining. All right. So, I don't think I could monetize. I can't even monetize my loserdom, let alone my hobbies. And I think if I could, I would hate it. But maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe you're just supposed to be productive. Maybe you're supposed to just generate revenue. And all this, as much as I could sympathize with the gentleman who misses being a child, he misses the lack of pressure to be productive, just to engage in play for play's sake. I wish I could do that too. But maybe it's a mistake to do that as an adult. I'm only considered because I'm capable of metacognition to take the thing I love and say, you know what, maybe the thing I love is bad. Anyway, that's all I got to say. That was a big meandering pile of excrement, and I hope you enjoyed it. Spread it on some bread and eat it. Pass it around to your friends. Please thumb, please comment, please share. Bye.